Hey girl, hey, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Misha. Thank you guys for joining me yet again for another review. We are back with a brand new review for Ready to Love Season 6, Episode 11. Child, let's just jump right into it. Let's get into it if we gonna get into it. When the episode first opens up, all the ladies meet at the ladies' lounge. It's the final men's elimination. So Tommy asked about the getaway, and Charisse is telling him about Samson coming to her spa, and we all know how that turned out last episode. And Kayla says she went out with Randall, and, he's still unsure. So here go Jamala. I don't get that with him. You got to put in the work, and I like to get my hands dirty. And girl, what? Randall playing games with all y'all, if we really want to be real. And getting your hands dirty with what? Anywho. So Tommy tells them it's time for the men to meet the family. In the next scene, Brandy is at home with her parents, and she chose them to tell her if Mike is the perfect guy for her. Brandy, I know you didn't ask me, and I know I'm not your mama and I'm not your daddy, but no. The answer's no. So Mike shows up bearing gifts, honey. Y'all know you got to suck up a little bit. So her mom asked, what he liked about Brandy. They jumped right into it, and he said he liked her smile. I love your smile. Do, 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 do. Shout out to Shanice. So then she asked how he felt about her job. So he was like, I don't like it. I'm not going to lie. I don't like the fact that she going to be gone. Now, we already know he going to be knocking on Kayla's door or some other woman door while she gone. And he ain't fooling me. So she was like, well, I told him I could make my schedule like I need to make my schedule. But clearly he wasn't listening to me. Oh, no, Brandy, he heard you. He just keeps saying it so he can use that as an excuse later. Well, I told you I ain't like being by myself. I don't trust nothing about it. Nothing. So she said, she would fly him out to every layover that she has if that's what he needs. Oh, no, ma'am. Baby, so then her daddy said, well, they have to do a lot of tests as far as with her job. So are you on any drugs? Baby, daddy said you ain't on them narcotics, are you? Oh, child. But listen, Daddy, I don't blame you because Mike's eyes do sit low. We need answers. No, I'm just kidding, child. But I feel like he probably engages in the Mary Jane of it all, but I don't know about the other stuff. So he's like, the only drug I'm into is Brandy. Game. Okay, it's giving game. I don't trust it. So Mike asked about Brandy's relationships because for him, it's not that big of an issue, but he just wants to know. Now, you already know that Brandy has told you that she's never been in a serious relationship or ever been in love. So why are you asking these questions? Like, this don't make no sense. So her mom was like, well, she's never been in a serious relationship. But then she turned around and asked him about children. She was like, I know you have children. He said, yeah, you know what? Brandy asked me how many kids I had. I said 3. She said she wanted 2. So hell, I guess I have 5 kids. Sounds good. But what about initially when you were sitting with her in April and you said that you were done having kids? You just say whatever you think sounds good. And that's just that on that, child. Listen, y'all. Listen, Linda, listen. This season is awful. It's just awful. I can't find one thing about this season and this cast of people that I like. And that's not any shade to them. It's just collectively the way this show is pieced together, just the everything. It's just, I'm not connecting. And thank God next week is the season finale because Will take some time and cast your show and actually pour into it. Because right now we're just getting conveyor belt Ready to Love. And it's like, just throw some people out there and get into it as you get into it. And I don't like that. Moving forward. So he gets up and he gets ready to leave. And he's like, yeah, I bought them gifts. So I definitely think I won them over. But how are you going to treat her in the long run is what I would have asked him. People always say great things when they meet the parents. So for me, this does nothing. This experiment right here, it does absolutely nothing. Because of course you're going to be on your best behavior. I would have asked 3 children. Do they all have the same mother? What happened with that relationship? Are you still cordial? Are you able to co-parent? Is she okay with you venturing out and being ready to love? Is there going to be conflict with her and Brandy? Brandy's coming with no children. So how is that going to affect, your relationship with your kids? Like, it's a lot of stuff y'all could have been asking, honey. It was giving nothing. So anywho, when he leaves, her dad was like, I feel like he was saying all the right things, but is he just constantly saying all the right things? Okay. Because daddy ain't no fool, honey, and he wasn't fooling him. He was a young man once as well. And so he knows the game. So Brandy was like, listen, I understand, daddy, because, I understand you thinking like that because I'm your child. But we just gonna see how it play out. But do you like him, yes or no? So they said, they riding for him. Her parents so sweet, though. I have to say that this is what I loved about this, okay? This is a positive. What I loved is that every single woman who introduced these men, they were introduced to the parents, okay? It wasn't, and the dads were showing up, shall I say. The dads were really showing up for their daughters, and I loved it. I loved everything about that. But anywho, I just feel like Mike is not the one. In the next scene, Kadian invited her godmom to meet Swayze. So she was like, my godmom knows me very well, and I also dated her son. And girls say, what? Child, that's kind of awkward. How does that work? Not you dated your godbrother. Anyway, child, I don't know what's happening, honey, but I ain't got time to get into it. So Kadian said that, both of them are alphas, so she wants to know how they can work through their communication issues. So Swayze shows up. Hey, sir. And he's like, I'm really kind of nervous about showing up to meet her fairy godmother because of how the friend did me, and it just didn't really go well. So he comes in, he sits down. Swayze starts telling her about himself, what's his name, what's his sign, as soon as he buy that wine, all that stuff. Shout out to Notorious B.I.G. So Kadian was like, I just want to know why me? Because you haven't really dated anybody else in the circle. Child, the people on the Twitter were asking the exact same thing. Why Kadian? Of all the women, why Kadian? Because the people on the Twitter do not like her, child. I don't know what's going on, but they just don't like her. So he said he likes who she is, but her communication is bad. She never lets him finish a sentence, and so she starts talking over him. She starts talking over the conversation, asking her own questions. Kadian, let the man speak. You act like you don't know how to act in front of company. Every time you get around someone that you're familiar with, you start showing out. Just sit back and allow the man to speak. So Kadian was like, when we speak about the future, he basically shuts down. And he said he does that because he doesn't want to go all in, not knowing if it's going to work or not, because he's afraid to be hurt. So her godmother tells him that, he needs to learn to let his guard down. And I feel like Kadian has to make it a safe space first. I'm not letting my guard down and we constantly arguing. They into it every single episode. So after he leaves, her godmother was like, he was nice, but y'all gonna have to figure out how to navigate each other. Okay? The red flags are flagging. These two, child, I probably should have just skipped them because we already know the outcome. Moving forward. In the next scene, Jamala invited her mom and older sister to meet Randall. And so Randall shows up, y'all. And he actually was wearing long pants. I just knew he was gonna have on them hoochie daddy shorts and a pair of J's to show up to this meeting. But Randall, why do you always look so disheveled, honey? You got lint balls in your hair. Oh, Randall, honey. Randall said, I just woke up, honey. It's a shake and go. Oh, child, it's a fool. He said going into the meeting, he wasn't super excited because of what went down in the house. Y'all know Jamala was chasing him around, honey, like an episode of Tom and Jerry. So he didn't like that, and he's a little bit nervous. So they asked what attracted him to Jamala, and he said, I saw her at the door. She's the first person I saw, and after that, they just clicked. What attracted you to Jamala? You know what? Her personality, the way that she speaks to me, the way that she's able to get me to open up. What attracted you? Not you saw her at the door, and you was like, oh, I gotta get that. No, that's not. Child, they don't be knowing how to answer these questions, honey. So her sister mentions, what went on in the house. And she's like, if another female is stepping on my sister's toes, then you need to know how to curb her. Sister, under normal circumstances, yes. But in this process, he's supposed to date multiple women. Your sister was being territorial and jealous. That's just point blank in the period. And truth be told, Randall just going through the motions if you really want to be real. And he was like, I understand that, but at the same time, she needs to allow me to talk. And, she needs to allow me to talk to other people. So the sister was like, well, can you elaborate on that? He said, she's up here and I'm more even keel, and I don't think she should try to control everything. And I agree with that. So then her mom pulls out questions from her dad. I said, okay, come on, index cards. The first question was, when things go wrong, how are you going to handle it? He said he's going to talk to her because communication is not his strong suit. But when they talk, it makes it easier to come back from conflict. And her sister was like, okay, well, that my dad is very protective. And he just sitting there looking. So now it's his turn to ask questions. And so he asked how she was in past relationships. Basically, that's code for, was she acting a fool like this with her other men as well? That's what he really wanted to ask. So they said, she basically gives it her all and that she really likes him and blah, 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 blah. So he gets up and leaves, right? So after he left, she asked how they felt about Randall. And so her mom was like, well, I mean, I can't see his heart, so I don't know how he's going to be in the long run, but he seems pretty honest to me. I mean, he answered the questions, I guess, but I feel like there needs to be more to this. Everybody likes Randall because he's tall. Let's just call a spade a spade. He's tall because he's really not giving too much. He doesn't even put effort into his appearance. If you meet me somewhere and you can't match my fly, then you can't go with me. Did y'all see the dress Jamala had on? And then he came in there with his ripped jeans on, with his little bitto shirt, and the little bit fuzzballs in his head. Like, no. In the next scene, Charisse is bringing Samson to meet her dad. So she's telling her dad she wants to get to know Samson on a deeper level. He's like, well, you think he cute? Because ain't nothing cuter than me. Daddy. Daddy, please sit still, honey. So she was like, well, my dad used to be a player, but now he's older, he's wiser, he's married. So Samson shows up, right, in his suit. I don't know if he had on a suit or not, but I know he liked to wear a good suit. He came in with a flower for her mom, right? And so immediately upon seeing her dad, he's like, well, I thought I was going to meet your mom. Yeah, I bet you did, because you're ready to smooth her mama and you got met with her daddy. Okay, and that daddy was mean mugging the hell out of Samson. I don't know if y'all saw it, but he was really mean mugging him. And no matter which parent you met, Samson, eventually you were going to have to meet the other one if y'all were getting serious. You just wanted to deal with a woman. Because see, Samson has a way with words, and he had everybody fooled, honey, but he wasn't fooling me. See, and that's what he wanted. He wanted to be able to win over her mom, but a dad is a totally different set of problems. So the dad starts asking Samson's questions about his siblings and where he went to college. He said he went to Morehouse, so baby, that her daddy liked that. So he asked what he liked about Charisse. And so Samson was like, I like that she has strong family values. Okay. It's all surface level when it comes to him, because I feel like that was a generic answer. Like, what more can you give? You are definitely not interested in anything long term with Charisse. I can just tell. So she was like, I really wanted him to say qualities about me, because that means that he truly sees me, and I don't think that's how he answered. That's definitely not how he answered. So her dad asked how he felt about being with a woman that's going to go out and get her own. And he's like, well, I always been attracted to a woman that will go get her own and don't need me for nothing. So then Charisse pipes up because she wants to be clear. She's like, listen, if we're in a relationship, we gonna have to need each other for something. And girl, he already told you he wants a woman with a little bit of struggle, and you were cool with it because you weren't listening. He's letting you know, don't come to me because I ain't got it. Okay, I like the fact that you can do everything on your own. No, absolutely not. Moving forward. So he explained exactly what he meant. And then he's like, are you okay? Looking at Charisse, because he could tell, she was kind of feeling some kind of way. She's like, I'm fine, And I think she is fine. She's just realizing that you don't really like her like that. I think it was in that moment when he said, I like that she likes family. We all have strong family values, honey. We don't get to choose the family, but what does that mean? I think in that moment she realized he wasn't in it like that. So he's like, well, don't be upset with your dad. She said, I'm not upset with my dad, but she just didn't feel like her dad was asking the right questions. Her dad wasn't asking what she wanted to know, basically. And Charisse, I feel like you should have written the questions out for your dad if you wanted him to ask certain things. I think she thought that her dad was going to get things out of Samson that she couldn't get out of him. But baby, that daddy fell flat as hell. You get me? So the daddy was like, he giving me good vibes. She was like, okay, so do I get the green light? He said, it's kind of yellow. It's a yellow light. Now, when the dad said that it was a yellow light, Samson couldn't just let that be about him. He's like, well, that applies to both of us. And so the dad said, well, yeah, for Charisse as well, because she can be challenging. Now, that is her dad. So her dad saying she can be challenging means she's spoiled. I've been spoiling her my entire life. So now when I ask her to do something, she does the total opposite. That doesn't mean that he despises his daughter, because I think Samson took that to mean, oh, well, you be fighting with your daddy. Boy, get out of here. I took it to mean she has to have her way. So then he said, well, if y'all get married, I say do it. She said, you just gonna give me your way like that? Baby, when I tell you that daddy heard wedding bells and was ready to walk her right the hell on down the aisle, I said, wait a minute. We don't know him, daddy. Hold him up, swallow him up, slow down, low down. We don't know him. Okay. She was like, so you just gonna give me away after 3 or 4 questions? Like, what? So it's getting kind of awkward, right? And so the daddy was like, well, he been to Morehouse. I feel like he's a good dude. Girl, why did you bring your daddy? He was not taking this seriously at all. But I feel like he probably wasn't taking it seriously because he knew Samson was on that bull, okay? Because he used to be on that bull. So he knows somebody on BS when he sees it. So in the confessional, Samson was like, for a father to tell a man that you're challenging, it made me wonder, if you can't get along with your father, then how do you expect to get along with me for a lifetime? Sir, people have issues with their parents all the time. The two relationships are totally different. So what if she said to you, you probably don't even know how to be a real man because you didn't grow up with a daddy? That does not even make any sense. Okay? So why are you judging her based on her relationship with her father? Anyway, maybe that's just me, honey, but I didn't see the correlation. In the next scene, Kayla invited her parents to meet both Randall and Mike. Kayla looked just like a good mix of her mama and daddy, and so does Brandy. She looks like a good mix of her mom and dad as well. And Charisse got that same head like that daddy. That daddy got that head too. So Randall comes in talking about, I'm excited about the meeting because I just need to know how Kayla feels about me because, she still has Mike in the mix. And I just need to know, how do you feel about me? Boy gone. You still choosing between her and Jamala. And to be honest, you already chose Jamala, but you just wasting Kayla's time. And I don't know why she don't see it. You have just coasted your way in your shorts all the way to the end. Anyway, sir. So when he sat down, her dad asked how he felt about Kayla. So then we pan over to Mike meeting with her family on another day. Him coming in empty-handed though, y'all, told me all I needed to know about the difference in how he feels between Kayla and Brandy. I think Kayla likes Mike a lot more than she should. I don't know why she's so smitten with him, but she is. So then her daddy asked Mike, what would you be saying if you were in my seat? You have daughters. What would you be saying to the man? He said I would look him right in the eye and ask him what his intentions were. He said, okay, well then answer your own question. That was so clever to me because I felt like, if you would ask your daughter's potential significant other this question, then I want you to answer what you would ask. I love that. I loved it. So he said, getting to know her, and I just want to get to know her and her future as far as work. I say, what now? So you want her LinkedIn or what? What are you even talking about? Kayla is so smitten with him, honey, but I really don't know why. I really just don't know why. Moving forward. Child talking about he want to get to know her work. Anyway, he was like, I'm an entrepreneur, so I want to know what she want to do for work. She already has said several times that she wants to be an entrepreneur. Hell, I know that, and I'm not dating her. So her mom was like, well, you need to know that Kayla liking you, you need to take that seriously because if you want to come into this family, then you're going to have to know that. He said, well, I don't mind coming. When I tell y'all Brandy going to have a fit, Mike is definitely sending Kayla mixed signals. And it's really awful so late in the game because next week is the finale and he's still stringing Kayla along. Back over with Randall and her daddy and her mama. The daddy is asking, what is he looking for as far as with Kayla? And he said, I'm looking for someone with a big heart, someone that's kind, and a person who's going to speak their mind in tough moments because that's a person that I can trust. So her daddy was like, well, you only mentioned one of her attributes, and that's her ability to speak up. And I was like, wait a minute, so she not kind? I was confused on it. So he asked about the, communication, and he said that he and Kayla are very similar. So dad asked if he was talking to somebody else, and he said that he was. Okay, he was honest. Back over with Mike, they're also asking about the other connections. So Mike said that he and Kayla's connection wasn't as strong. It was at a lower level, but now it's at an 8. Is it? Is it me, y'all? Or does it seem like Kayla's family liked Mike more than Randall? I don't think they liked Randall too tough. Meanwhile, Randall is telling them that he has 3, or he had 3, but now he has 2 connections. So her mom is like, oh, lucky you. Baby, that mama was like, what? Honey, absolutely not. So her dad asked Mike, if you could change one thing about Kayla, what would it be? He said, I wouldn't change anything. I don't believe that for 1 minute. Everybody got something. So then her mom asked if he could change anything about Brandy, what would it be? Why are we asking about Brandy? I didn't think that was cool. Was it just me, y'all? Because I did not think that was cool to bring up Brandy. This is not about Brandy. This is about your daughter. So he said he would have to reassure Brandy a lot, and that's something that he would like to change. She's like, well, do you want somebody that needs reassuring? See, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Why are y'all trying to tear down Brandy? She ain't bothering nobody. Mike, actually, I feel like you are the one who likes to have their ego stroked, and you are the one who needs reassurance. I don't like that Brandy was brought up into this. I just don't. Moving forward. So in the confessional, Kayla was like, the fact that he said he wouldn't change anything about me, it just reassures me that he might choose me, over Brandy. Girl, I'm sure in front of her he would change something about you. He lying. Back with Randall, her daddy asked if he could trust Randall with Kayla. Of course, he said yes. He's like, I'm a very trustworthy person. So he answered the question with the same word, child. And the daddy was like, what do you got going on? So they asked how he defined love. Now, I did appreciate this answer. He said, it feels like family, like his grandparents, because he was raised by them and his mom. And they asked about his dad. And he said, he was cool, but he wasn't around much. Her daddy actually appreciated the fact that he didn't speak poorly of his dad, even though his dad wasn't always in his life. I feel like her dad was tough on Randall, but I think they picked up on his energy. He wasn't very sure of himself. So after it was over, he leaves and he's like, I'm still torn because, I'm just really focused on Jamala. Well, you better get untorn because next week is the season finale. And get it together, Randall, honey. Ain't no time to waste. So after Mike leaves, Kayla asked her family about their ratings. So her dad said that Mike is more sure and more confident and Randall just isn't. Neither one of them are, to be honest. If we really want to be real. I feel like Mike is just older and more experienced and he was able to charm y'all better. Randall don't know what to say or what to do or how to dress, honey. He just seems young, like a college freshman or something. I don't know. It's weird. So Kayla said, her mind says that she should choose Randall because it makes more sense. But her and Mike have this energy. Well, baby, they gonna need to choose you first. Like, you gonna have to stop being everybody's second choice before you figure out who you want to choose. Child, this is a fool. In the next scene, Kadian and Swayze go out on a date. So they start talking about, when he met her godmother, he wanted to know if she liked him or not. And so she was telling him what the godmother thought about him. So they start talking. She's asking him, what does he like and what would he like for a romantic date? Like, what would he want if it was his birthday or Valentine's Day? She's just asking really surface level questions. He's like, just whatever. Steady eating. Just do whatever. It's cool. So the godmother already said they needed to work on their communication, right? This conversation right here proves that they need to work on their communication because she's asking things about him and he has no answers. These men are not very open, but claiming they're ready to love. It's just crazy to me. So she's trying to get him to open up and he's like, I don't reassure you because I feel like it's too early for all that. She was like, okay, so what if I said I wanted to have sex? Is that too early? He was like, nah, it ain't never too early to have sex. Oh, okay, see. He is showing her that he's open to sex, but not open to opening up unless he opening up her legs. He would be a hell no for me. Moving forward. She's like, oh, okay, so it's too early for conversation, but not for sex. So in the confessional, he's like, okay, we back on bad terms again. But why though? Listen, I know y'all have y'all feelings about Kadian, but I feel like if you're ready to love, you should be able to answer these questions. She's asking you basic questions like your likes and dislikes. Do you just want sex? Because that's what it's seeming like to me. Child, whatever's going on between the two of them, it won't last long. In the next scene, all the ladies meet for the final time in the ladies' lounge. So Tommy is asking about the family meetings and Brandy was saying, that Mike met her parents, but he's dated every woman in that room and it's been really hard on her. And when she said that, I was like, really? Because the way they edit this show, you would think he honed in on Brandy. And then Kayla came into the mix and it's just been them two. But he been dating everybody. So then she said, what they have is real. Okay, girl. I wonder who told her about the things that he said when he was on the date with Kayla. Because she mentioned that she was a little bit, taken aback because he said she needed reassurance. That's something that he would change about her. And I was wondering, how did she get that information? Did Mike tell her? Or did Kayla tell her? Kayla, comment down below and tell me how Brandy picked that up. So Kayla says she spent the most time out of anybody with Mike. And she respects what Brandy is saying and what she feels, but he's telling her the same thing. So then Kayla, of course, she talked about meeting with Randall and Mike, how they thought Mike was very confident and Randall was not. So Kadian is telling Tommy that with Swayze, he met the godmother and she was saying they needed to work on their communication. She can't get him to open up and talk about the future. And I was just wondering, is this an age thing? Because why are y'all always fussing? Why? If we got to go into the beginning of the relationship always fussing, it ain't going to work. The foundation is cracked already. Moving forward. So baby, then Charisse brings up Samson meeting with her dad. She was like, I'm really torn on him because my gut is telling me that I deserve someone that's going to love me for me. And I agree, despite what everybody feels about Charisse, I agree we all deserve someone that's going to love us for us. But truth be told, Charisse, I feel like you settled with Samson after Bozo showed out. That's what I really feel. I don't think that any of the men were really your cup of tea, because every time you would engage with one of them, you would say, well, normally I wouldn't date him, or normally I wouldn't talk to a guy like him. I never saw the chemistry between you and Samson, ever. So she started to get super emotional about it, and all the ladies were very supportive. And so Brandy is like, I hate to bring up the gifts, girl. I hate to bring it up, but I just feel like he feels the same about everybody. Brandy, we see each other. I feel the exact same way. So then she tells her that Samson was telling her that she was the only one that he wanted to even meet his exes. And he wanted to end the process with her. I told y'all Samson was basura. I told y'all. So then Kadian was like, girl, he called me. Somebody always calling Kadian on the phone. Girl. So she said that he called her and told her that he wanted her to stay because there was something between them. So he just in everybody's ears, him and his parishioner suits. He just doing that so he can stick around. I knew so, baby. I knew it. I knew it. But my thing is this. Why didn't y'all bring this up a long time ago? She was being made a fool of and nobody said nothing. Like, what is happening? So then Tommy tells Charisse to write down the pros and cons about Samson and see if they can work that thing out. Take him out and she will decide if he's ready to love. So child, it's time for the Elimidate. So he comes in, he's like, well, I haven't seen her since we went to the wine bar, but her dad liked me. So I should be fine. So once he sits down, she tells him about what Brandy and Kadian said about him wanting them as well as wanting her. And he's like, well, I guess I need to be better in my communication about my interests. She said, yeah, because it's me, right? Crickets. He's like, she's questioning my character at this point, and I feel like it should be the other way around. I have never put my foot in my mouth. Sir, you've been caught. So just own it. And before anybody says that's a part of the process, yes, it is a part of the process. But if you're out in the open and everybody is thinking that you're only dating me, why are you on the phone telling them the exact same thing that you tell me and telling them that they're your number one when you're telling me out in the open week after week after week after week that I'm your number one? And Samson, I thought she was your oxygen. Like, he's a trash can. I know this is a part of the process, but out in the open, everybody knows that they're dating everybody. Like Brandy said, Mike has dated everybody in here. That's hard for me. Kayla knows that Randall has been over here with Jamala and Trinika. They know. He was being sneaky about it, and that is the difference. So she was like, I just felt like you weren't really feeling me. He said, well, if I listened to the men, then you would have been gone. Now he does have a point, because the men have tried to get rid of Charisse countless times, and he has stepped into her defense. I have to give him that. He get a half a point. So then he starts running down what happened with her and Zoe, with her and Mike, her and her daddy. She's like, dude, whatever. Okay. Blah, 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 blah. Say whatever you want to say, honey. I don't want to hear it. So then in the confessional, she was like, this is why I couldn't get intimate with Samson, because he doesn't even like me. Well, child, that's the truth. And he immediately got defensive. She was like, how do you think I feel hearing all those negative things? He said, well, I didn't come to talk about the ladies. I came to talk about us. She said, there's not going to be an us because you're not ready to love. He said, what? Oh, okay. So why did you come and have me meet your daddy then? Sir, the show had you meet her dad. Okay. In real life, you wouldn't have met not nothing after you came from that spa. But maybe that's just me. But the show had you meet her dad. He's like, you wasting people's time. Sir, you were wasting people's time. The real him is shining through. That nice guy mask has dropped. And she's like, well, what about my time? What about mine? He said, I'm not walking away from this. She said, well, I am, because you're not ready to love. He said, okay, well, then you're not ready to love, especially if you're giving up on this. You really ain't ready to love. So she's still sitting there for a second, right? He's like, why are you still sitting here? She said, because I'm going to get up when I feel like getting up. This is the only thing about Charisse. Charisse, you can have valid points, but when you get to arguing with these men, you stick around in situations far too long. When you told him he's not ready to love, get up and give him your ass to kiss. Walk away. Why are you still sitting here? There's no reason for you to continuously sit here. So he's still sitting there. He started chomping down on that food. He's like, I feel like I dodged a bullet. Anyway, baby Samson is a trash can, as I stated. He talking about she's fake. No, you're the fake one. The way he switched up and got upset, it shows that he's a loose cannon. And just imagine his argumentative state behind closed doors. Behind his eyes, empty. It's giving dead behind the eyes. And that was the end of the episode. Well, Charisse, I hope you know that you are the woman that will be going home next week. You might as well go ahead and go home now because there were no other connections there for you. And, you know, of course, I'm sure she probably won't be back for the finale because Samson was her only connection and now he's gone. So there's that. We will see you at the reunion. Please don't hesitate to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And as always, stay safe, stay blessed, spread love, not germs. Peace.